how we doing today? It's your boy, it's Joe, coming back for another round. Now, I know I kind of raged quit last night. Uh, yeah, YAML, what was funny, I was saying it all night long with the two spaces, two spaces, two spaces, two spaces. And what did I do? I kept on making syntax errors with the two spaces. It was right after, I swear, right after I rage quit and I jumped off the stream. I relaxed for a couple minutes. I went at it. I took a look at what I was doing, and boom, I figured out what my syntax errors was. Uh, so it wasn't YAML's fault. It wasn't Ansible's fault. It was all this guy's fault. And I apologize for that. So this was, I wanted to just pick up where we pick up where we started, where we left off last night. Same topology, same everything. It's funny, I had to do some troubleshooting. I'm glad I fired this up because I had to do some troubleshooting in this too, in this topology, because for some reason, routers 2 SSH wasn't working, and just some other things too. What I did. This might just be something to just maybe just to think about in a lab, maybe in a lab situation or whatnot, or maybe just in real life too. What I did was I increased the timeout, the command timeout, and the command timeout and the persistent. It's the persistent timeout. So the connection timeout. So the connection timeout and the command timeout. I increased both of them. I did it to 60 seconds. I might decrease it down to probably 30 seconds. But I did it because I was running some commands. I was running into timeout issues. We shouldn't run into them anymore. It was just I was, again, making mistakes with how I was writing my code. But nonetheless, we're up and running. What's good is we won't have to dive into any of the background configurations or do any of that, so we can get right off the bat, start jumping into some good Ansible code, some good YAML, and let's take a look at some fun stuff that we're going to be able to do. I've been playing around just to make sure this time that my syntax errors wouldn't get the best of me. I got the Ansible documentation up, so if you want to take a look at if you want to follow along, sort of, kind of, I encourage you to open up the Ansible documentation, take a look at it, follow it as we're going along, and we're gonna go from there, guys. Okay. So, again, I was just running some simple commands just to see if stuff's working, but we'll take a look at that. Let's take a look at what I was doing wrong last night. Let me open up. Let me get Epic Pen up there. So, this is what I was kind of doing wrong. So, take a look at it. Let's just make a new. We'll make a new file, guys. Let us say stream good. All right, so this is pretty much what I was doing last night, and I was running into issues. Now, it was up until here that I was doing fine. You know what I'm saying? My syntax was doing pretty good. But then after that, that's where I started making mistakes in my syntax, and I was reminding everybody, and I kept on saying it too, which was so, I guess, coincidence, that you got to pay attention to your spacings and how you're handling that. So again, two spaces. So 1, 2 spaces. Now, when we have our first block here, okay? All right, now that first block pretty much indicates a play. So this is how we'll do it today. So this is like considered like we'll say like play one. This is what Ansible and how when it accepts this syntax, um, this is what it's. This is and we'll iterate through this too, so you can see what I'm kind of saying too. So we have our first block, and it's indicated again, and we'll just recreate it. Okay. So we'll start off. We have a 1, 2, 3, just dashes, very simple, right? Okay. Now our first block. This is going to be like our first play. So we can we can always think about this first block on how we do, just how we start off from right this point. This is play. Okay, this is our first play. Okay, so dash, space. Okay, all right. Now we're going to give this play, we'll say play one. Okay, so this is play one. Okay, now inside play one, we're gonna do whatever we want to do inside play one, right? And then we can add a play 2, 3, 4, as many other plays within this play itself. Okay, so we're just gonna write some syntax to just look at the block structure, and this is what I was doing. So 2 spaces. Let's do that again. 2 spaces. No tab, no nothing, just 2 spaces. And I'm still in the parameters of giving the initial parameters for play one. So I'm giving it, I want the host. The host in play one will be the routers. Okay, there's multiple hosts. In this one, well, let's do this then. We'll kind of do, we'll lay it out nice and easy. We'll say R1. It's just the host that I want to be affected in play one. Okay. Again, we're still in this first play. In the first section of just giving the first kind of like parameters of what play one's going to be. You know what I'm saying? You can add this is where you can add other variables to this initial block too. So now we're going to say for play one, these are the tasks that I want to happen inside play one. Ready? 1, 2. Okay. Now, just like we started off, what we have here, what we've just created, and I'll illustrate that right here. Is we've created this space right here. And you can't really see that, so we've created this little space. Okay, so this little space is pretty much okay. So this is the next block within the tasks. Okay, and then this is where we're going to start making those commands. Okay, so let's just continue to follow along now, because now this is naming the first task. Now we can have multiple tasks within a task block. Okay, and that's where we can make more errors on how we're blocking this out. So we're just taking it step by step. What I should have done last night. Okay, so just like we started off our first block, here we go. A dash. Space. Name. I'm going to say task. Task 1. Play 1. Okay, task 1, play 1. Okay, pretty easy. Okay, now inside of this task, okay, now 2 spaces. Let me go back. Okay, 1, 2, 2 spaces. Now that brings us right to where that dash was. Now, just like we had here, I'll illustrate this again for us so we're not missing anything. Now, underneath here, we had to have, again, exactly what the name is. We have 2 spaces. Okay, so we need 2 spaces, okay, to fall within that block, okay. I know this is kind of like, it's so, this is why it's strict. This is why it was getting me last night. Let's just work through it. Okay. All right. So we're here. 2 spaces. Okay. Now, we'll say, we'll give these the, to illustrate it, let's just do, I'm going to do an iOS command with this. So we'll say iOS. And this is just the iOS command module. This is what we talked about. This is what I was using last night. This is what I'm going to be using for today's too. So we're going to say iOS command. And the reason why I'm doing this is not the ping, so we can then, again, show the block. So calling this iOS command, we are calling another, we need to call in another block. So we're going to be executing another block. So we have to break that block. We have to give ourselves enough blocks. So 1, 2. That brings us into this block. 1, 2. That brings us, now we're in the task. Okay. And then 1, 2. Now we're in the iOS command now. Okay. All right. So let's go back. Okay. Okay. 1, 2. We're in the play. We're describing where so we're in the block where the play is. Okay. So that would be here. Okay. We don't want to be in here. Okay. 1, 2. When we give ourselves, now we're 4 spaces in, but we're still not in the correct area of where our syntax is, because now we're here. Okay. Where we want to be is we want to be in the next block, to be running in, so it knows to be running the code for it. It's just, we're running another command, this module iOS, so the syntax is just breaking, it just spaces in. Okay, this is where I was making mistakes. So again, 1, 2. Now our syntax, now we're going to be running our commands inside of this block here. Okay. All right. So remember, this is the task block. Okay. And then this is the play. All right. So there we go. So we got play, task, and then command. Okay. So following this block structure, this is what I was missing on how I was breaking out my syntax last night. So from here now, what we're going to do is we're going to add the commands. Okay, so this is running. So in the iOS, in the Cisco modules, under the Cisco iOS module, because that's what it is, because there's a couple different other Cisco modules. There's the iOS command, right? And then in that you have the commands. There's a couple other ones. There's wait for. Wait for, I found though, is a little glitchy. I believe it might not. Wait for just, I don't think I'm adding the syntax correctly for wait for, but just follow along with me. That doesn't matter. Okay. So again, so we're in this block now in our commands. Okay. So again, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Now we're here. Now this is where we can start adding our commands. Okay. Now we have to do another 2 spaces. Okay. And the syntax is easy for this, and how just to follow this just makes it easy. Just add the dash, and I'll remove. Let me clean this. Okay, so again, We're right where we're underneath our command block now. All right, so we're in our command block. All right, but now we need to just bring ourselves into a new block, and we're going to give ourselves another 2 spaces. Okay, and this is where we're going to list out our commands that we're going to be running on iOS. Okay. Okay. So we'll just do a dash. All right. All right. So it's just two spaces. Okay, but we're adding a dash space. Gives us our 2 spaces. And we'll do a show IP interface. And let me write it up so you can see the full command. Okay. All right. Now again, we want to. It won't be true to us unless we get something back. So let's get something back. So we have to. And let me just. I guess. Now, okay. So now that we have our command inside of our command block, we want to exit that command block. Okay, so we want to step out of the command block and go to where we're sitting inside of where the underneath the task. Okay, and that's where we're going to be calling the register. Okay, now register is one of those Ansible it's like a known Ansible global namespace or global module. I guess global module would be the correct word for it. And what you're doing is you're registering you can register variables data inside of whatever variable that you can name it, and that it saves that variable as a as like a JSON array, and we can look at it as a JSON array. We can break it out. We can iterate over it. I'm gonna show you guys how to do that. We're gonna go over that stuff like that. Okay. So again, so we want to break out of the command block. So we want to go 1 2 1 2. Now this brings us back. This brings us back to the same block that this is in. Now this, remember, this was the command block. Okay. So we're out of the iOS command block and we're back inside of where our actual tasks are. Okay. And then this is where we'll add the register. Okay. And we're just going to give this whatever variable name we want. We can say, I call it data. I call it data just because, whatever. Or we can call it whatever. Okay, call it whatever. All right. So now that all right, now that we're out of now that we've registered, I think I talked about this last time, but either way, now that we've registered our data, we've pretty much we put it inside a variable. We want to show that data, and we just simply just go through it real quick. We'll just say 2. Okay. Now again, we're keeping within that syntax of where we're at. Okay. All right. So we're matching up, guys. We'll say name. We'll just say this is task 2. Just to keep along, put 1, so you guys can kind of see what's going on. Again, we want to be within that debug command like we were with the iOS command, those 2 spaces, guys. Okay. All right. I'm just calling data. and then when you call to get your to receive your registered data, to call it back in as readable, I guess JSON, you can call it in as pretty much like standard output, hyphen lines, and it'll show you that data. So standard out lines, it'll give us that. All right, and that's pretty much. This is going to be play one. All right, so this will encompass play one right here, and we'll break it out here in a second, guys. Okay. All right, now let's create another play. That's fine. Play two. And we're just gonna reiterate over all this stuff, guys. Okay. And the reason why I'm not copy pasting everything because it won't copy and paste the correct spacing. That's very important, right? That was the issue, right? Call you data one. So what we got here is we've got two plays. We got two tasks within those two plays. Now let's just see what's going on. Talk about this. Save this. Exit. Let's call the play. So Ansible dash playbook. We're gonna stream play. Now again, we're gonna call it on our host file. Our host file hasn't changed from last time. Okay? Now we'll talk about this. Just let it just run. Once it runs, we'll talk about it. So what we got here. So again, so we had our first play. Wow, that's too big. So we had our first play, just like we had in our playbook, and we'll go take a look at that. All right. So we had our play one. This encompasses all play one. We'll take a look at that. We'll change our color here. Now the first thing we had our task, right? So remember we had task one, play one, right? Now inside of task one, play one, what that did was that did the iOS command that did the show IP interface brief, okay? All right, and then our task two here, our task two, play one, just like we had in our code there. That was showing us that was pretty much taking the variable that we registered, and then we pretty much debugged it and printed it to the output of our screen. So that's play one. So all this is exactly what our code was supposed to do. All right, and then we take a look down here, just like our code had. We had play 2. All right, so we called it play 2. It's just gathering some simple facts. I believe we can, if I go through the thing, I can, we don't have to explicitly gather facts every time. And that would remove that task right there. But either way, that's fine. But then again, we have our task 1, and that's the same thing. It's calling that iOS command on pretty much router 2 here, calling in the play 2. The task that was again debugging that saved output to that variable, and then printing it to our screen here. So that's a simple, and we wrote that. So this was, remember, this was me last night rage quitting when I couldn't write just a simple Ansible play. And this demonstrates that we can also write multiple plays within a single play too as well. So this is, again, this just demonstrates, and let's go take a look back at our, let's take a look back at our code here. Okay. So just to take a look back at our code and what we got going on here. So, again, we have our simple play 1. Okay. And then within play 1, we have our first task. Okay. And then we have our second task. All right. And the spacing is what matters, okay? And then we took a look at that. All right, we took a look at that when we had to say, when we were inside of our iOS command, this is the block in which we were running that code. Same thing with our debug here, okay? So our debug, this is its block, okay? And we have to be mindful of that spacing, okay? We have to be mindful of that spacing right there, all right? And then to exit, again, we remove ourselves from that, all right? And that's how Ansible understands what the YAML code is trying to present itself. And, you know, it's not that it's overcomplicated. It's just something you have to just be mindful of when you're going through the syntax here. Okay. All right. Very good. Now, what I want it to do next is I want to write a play that will change, that would drastically have effects on routing. Okay, so we're gonna affect how routing within our topology, to go back to our topology here, on how we have it. We want to write a play that will set up Ospf, okay, within the respected areas that we have that we are required to meet for our topology. So we need our backbone area 0, okay, which all these routers will be connected to. Okay, it has nothing to do with the switch. The switch is just giving me an endpoint to have the routers connect to. Okay, and then we're going to have area 3, area 2, and then area 1. Okay, and then obviously with the connections in between, each area is going to be obviously all connected, all touching back to area 0. Okay, not so much that they're going to be connecting. They are, I guess, on each router's interface, but we're going to separate that with how we're going to be, thinking about our Ospf design. All right, and then we're gonna take a look, and we're gonna do all of this via a playbook. Okay, we shouldn't have to interact with any of these routers, and that's the hope, and that's the obviously what we're doing here. All right, because now obviously we've established connections, we've established that our Ansible is all up and running. The guy who's writing all the Ansible code has an idea of how to write good Ansible. So that's what we're doing. So let's get into it. So let's touch. We'll say Ospf. So Ospf. Now, I'm gonna try to write a whole entire script that utilizes all of the routers at some point to do some of these configurations, and then utilizes the routers individually to do individual interface and stuff like that configurations. So yeah, this should be fun. Yeah, it's not worth me trying to even go over to VS Code and do this either to try to expedite the process, because it's just maybe a lot of copy and paste afterwards. So that's that, right? All right, so play one is going to be let me just write, just need notes. So let's set up area 0. Let's do that first, okay? Let's set up area 0 on all the routers, and then we'll work that configuration into a bigger configuration. All right. And so if I want to do that, what I will do on every router, because they're all in that same area. So we'll say all the routers. This is our task. So on this one, so now that we're in the command line, we need to first go to configuration terminal. Then we need to do, oh wait, every router needs a router ID, individual router ID. Okay. That's okay. So the first one we need to do, we need to set up router IDs. All right. We have to call on each individual router to do that. Then we want to go to router F1. One. No, yeah, I might as well just get it over with. Yeah, okay. That's good. So, F1. So gotta move that interface into there. And it's gonna be a broadcast interface, so I don't need to set up. I don't need to set up. At least right now. This is just setting up. Then I want to do. you would do. Well, it's gonna take a minute for these memberships to show up. But we'll do show IP Ospf. Yeah. That way we can just verify that the Ospf is enabled on the. We're just going to register the results. I'm just going to say it to. Print out that data. So, debug. Current. You copied that. That'd be a great trip to learn. Google that real quick. Listen. Okay, so let's do that again. Oh, that screwed it all up. Oh no. Oh, that's horrible. How do you undo that? What did it do? Oh, no. Oh. Oh. Alright, let's not do that again. Huh? Handled it. Oh, like that sucks. That leaves us to write it all over again. I love it. Okay. That's not true. Oh. My foot broke. Make sure things are lining up. Make sure. This is so exciting. My face is burning off. that properly. Yeah. All right, so this play should let's just see. So this play right here should set up OSPF on all the routers to area 0. All right. Looks good. So just to verify, all of the interfaces are on the gigabit 0-0 on all of the routers. Again, going to, so let's run our play. So I'm going to say Ansible, Ospf, I host. There we go. Just had to fix one little minor issue. So I'm going to show you how to clean up the I'll show you how to clean up the results too. So what pretty much we got back is it's given us the wait status, which is good. So it's pretty much saying that our on all of our gigabit 0, so each router. So we can go through our facts here. All right, so let's just go through the play. All right, so we have setting up R1's our router ID. It's gathering some facts. It's setting up R1, and then we're verifying the OSPF setup here. Okay, so I guess I should have called in. We'll call in a couple more. We'll create another play to verify, or we'll just tailor this play out too. We're just going to continue to build on this play. And so here we go. So we have on our gigabit 0-0 interface, we have OSPF process ID 1, that's what we called it, for area 0. All right. On the interface. All right. So on that interface, which that interface is IP address happens to be 192.168.0.1. All right. All right. It's put us, and then it puts us into the wait status with no neighbors. It's not picking up any neighbors right now because the OSPF process hadn't been completed yet. We'll take a look at how it completes itself. We'll run another. And again, so here we go. So again, so it would just keep on going down. So setting up R2. So setting up R2's ID, setting up R2, verifying the OSPF setup. And again, we get on there on R2's gigabit interface when it verifies. Here we go, 192.168.0.2. Again, it gives us the still wait status because OSPF hasn't completed its convergence yet. So here we go for R3, setting up R3, gathering some facts, setting up R3, and then verifying the OSPF process. Okay. Now, if we can go back into yeah, let's do this. And what we'll do is we will comment out. And like I said, I'm going to show you how to clean up that output real quick. Just comment these up. All right. So to clean up that data, again, remember it's given our data. It's given our data back in an array of pretty much elements or items. Um, and every time it runs a configuration, every time it's running a play, it's and it gets some kind of output back. It puts that inside of an item. So we can iterate now. I believe it showed. I think it was like there was like five elements in that array. So we can iterate that and just get back the element that we want. And I believe the last element that we wanted was the information on our interface. So we'll just simply say that we want the fourth element in that array. So we'll say that in our output here. All right, now let's run this again. So what we're getting back, we have it verifies that obviously we have Ospf on an up state, so where we have let me see, state dr. So R3, R3 seems to be the dr. Yep, R2. That's Ospf logic where R3 had the highest router ID, so that gives it the logic that it's going to be the designated router, and then going the next step down, R2 would become the backup designated router, and then R1 would either be designated router or a backup designated router. It's just waiting to become that backup designated router, and that's how it gets the dignitation of dr other. All right, and it's saying that it's got it has two. It's in a relationship with two neighbors, a full relationship with two neighbors. As you can see, even though there's three neighbors, it only has a full relationship with two of those neighbors. Obviously, the dr and the backup designated router. So our Ospf process looks good. We can do. Did I have? Let me just see. I might have had a play that showed. I had a play that showed routing information. Put that one that showed. Either way, we can add it. Okay, let's just go back to our Ospf. Info. iterate over the information that I wanted to the correct. So let's do another. Just do it. Show IP. Oh. So got a lot of information back here. So we got, obviously now we're showing our OSPF info stuff. Let's do this. Instead of route, let's do run it again. Should get some better facts about our OSPF. Getting better facts about our OSPF neighbors here. Right. So I mean I've I've tried to get familiar with Cisco's iOS on how to get just to try to get better information back through its command line. So what I've pretty much just done is I've looked for the OSPF interface topology, and then I've just iterated over some of that information and just plucked out some of the stuff that I find that's useful when kind of just debugging Ospf and stuff. Again, I'm gonna all this code and stuff like that we're working on today, I'll put up on like a gist or something like that, guys. So what we got here, and we can go through all of the information that we got back from all of our routers here. So pretty much we're in on our gigabit on, this is R1 here, and we can just verify all that. R1, verify the IP address. All right, again, just verifying some OSPF facts here. On its gigabit 0.0, process ID 1 area 0, IP address. Again, it's DR other, and then we can, and then that simple the IP OSPF interface topology, it gives back some really cool facts in there. So we have obviously our internet address, IP address. All right, it gives you back the process ID. All right, and as we add more to our interface topologies, it'll give us back more and stuff like that too. Our router ID, network type too, that's very important. Broadcast. We're gonna have point-to-point links here very shortly too. And then it gives us the designated router, all right, 3.3.3, backup designated router, and gives us all the information on them, their IP addresses, and so much. It gives us the hello, the dead, and the wait. And then this can help us again verify information too on all of our routers too, if we're having like say OSPF troubleshooting issues too. That way we can get all this information back real fast. From all of our routers, and all of this pulled pretty quickly too. So it didn't take too long to pull all of this back from all three of those routers too. So again, so we're making good headway with what we're doing. So now we want to set up pretty much the individual areas for each different router. So let's do a copy on OSPF, just that one, and then we'll copy that over to new area. Right. So in here, this is where we'll start modifying, so we can create those particular areas that we're going to need on our router, and then we'll do some show commands and stuff like that just to verify all of our things that have got set up. So here we'll say setting up R1s, say area 1. R1. Yep. That was command conf t. We can remove this because we already have our router ID. Now I want to move to that one. It's going to be 1. Right. Interface. Big. IP F2. So that should set up those two areas right there in R1. a similar setup. Hey. Two, one, zero, two. Ospf. Process of E, say 3. That's it. Okay. So what I'm doing here with this script is I'm pretty much throwing the interfaces that need to be in their respected areas into their pretty much respective areas, and then we're just gonna do a. Let's add this to the tail of this. It worked last time. I just ran the wrong ones. Like I always. So let's just call this Ansible play, and then this is new area. Guess I iterated over too many. That's okay. Yeah, I iterated. Okay, that's okay. Let me just remove that. Let's remove that. Let me just remove these. Let me just count these out afterwards. Let's just run that again. Okay. So now that we ran it again, we're not seeing that our interfaces are in the. Yeah, I iterated it over going to the center. So let's see, 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 3. So if I had 3, if I did 3 on that one. I have to iterate over 5. It just gets too messy. Whatever. Either way, we're getting good information back. So, setting up area 1 and 2 on R1, we can verify that information right here, guys. Okay, so we have on the gigabit 0-2, we have area 1, and then on gigabit 0-2, we have area 2. Just like our topology is listed out here, guys. Okay. All right. And we have, again, we're getting all the correct facts back. Now we're going to run that Ospf info again. and then see the facts that we get back from that, because the facts are gonna change now. And then on R2 now, setting up area 2 and 3, we can verify that we've set up area 2 and 3. Okay, all right. We verified that on the correct interfaces, that our commands have all worked. Same thing with setting up area 3 on router 3 here. We verified that we've only set up that one area on area. All right. Now, if we go back, let me just check out Ospf info real quick. Now, if we run Ansible playbook, Ospf info -I on the host again. Let's check out the. Now this will show us more in-depth facts about how our Ospf topology is looking. Okay. That's what we're looking for. All right. So we'll start up from the very top. Go to R1. So on R1, setting up, I got to change that to just getting the facts here. So just verifying the Ospf setup here on R1. Again, we're getting our interfaces just so we can get a quick snapshot of our interfaces. Then this is where we get into our more in-depth protocol. So we have on the gigabit 0-0 interface, the IP address, the router ID, it's a broadcast. Now we're going to have to go back, and I want to change those interfaces. I want to change those interfaces between the points, between the routers to point-to-point areas. And then we should then see another topology change, our Ospf topology change. We see that change here on the states. Instead of having backup designated in designated routers, where it doesn't, in a point-to-point link, it doesn't require those two types of routers, and it doesn't create the network, the second LSA either too. So it helps with network proficiency and stuff like that, because it reduces some of the overhead bandwidth that Ospf comes with. So we see here network type broadcast. That's going to stay on area 0 here. But if we take a look at over here on our gig 2 interface, which is in area 1 now, we can verify that. See, here we go. So in area 1, so correct IP address. All right, so it's changing. Okay, guys. So we're verifying that we have the right information. This is what we're going to change. It's going to be point to point. All right. Designated router. So it's saying that it's the designated router on that one, because it is the only router on that interface pretty much. So you come over here to its gig 01 interface, area 2. Obviously we have the designated router because of the higher interface, but then we have a designated router. Again, we want to change that to a point-to-point so we don't have designated or backup. All right. So again, we're verifying all this information. All this information looks really good, and all of it's correct on every single router that we're going up on here. So, so within just a couple commands and within just a script, we have Ospf up and running, and we're verifying our Ospf configuration. Hold on one second. Yeah, so we're just verifying our Ospf. My wife's coming back home. We're just verifying our. No, that's a wrong bad thing. We're just verifying all of our information. So, now, like I said, what I want to do is I want to now change these to a point-to-point. A point-to-point. So I want to go ahead and change that. So if we go back, new area. All right, so we're gonna say copy new area to point. And we're just gonna say this is IP Ospf. Then what we'll do is we'll just run the info. No, we'll run that. We'll run that. That way we could see the change take effect. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's cool. So let's run this now. Okay. We're already getting the facts back from R1 here, where it changes the state now. We're verifying that point to point. Okay. Hey, baby. What are you doing? So, as we get the facts back, we're verifying that we still, on our area 0, we still have a broadcast. Now, let's run our other place. So we'll run the Ansible playbook, the Ospf info. Okay. We'll give the -I. Okay. So we can just we'll start up at the top here on R1. So gathering, man, I still gotta change that. Pretty much just verifying the setup, the Ospf setup here. We're verifying the interfaces first. Again, we've seen that we have our new point-to-point links, and we're gonna go see that in our protocol here. So you can still look in our gig 0 interface here, which is still in area 0. That network types of point-to-point. What we want to change is on our gig 2 interface that's in area 1. We want that to be a point-to-point, okay? Because there's no other router. There's no other router on that end from one point, and if there was a router on the end, it would only be those 2 routers, okay? All right, so there is no need to elect and go through the process of electing a DR and a backup DR. Same thing here, we verify on our gigabit 0-1, which is in area 2 now, that's connected to R2. We have a point. Okay. Down here, R2, verifying the facts on R2, and we can verify it's still on area 0 on our gig interface. We still have the network type of broadcast. Okay, but if we come down here on our gig 1 interface, all right, which is in area 2, all right, we're looking with a network type. Okay, now as you can tell, it eliminates the, the designated router and the backend designated router. There are none on a point-to-point Ospf topology. Okay, all right, same thing here. All right, with gig 02 here. Very good, point to point, same thing. Same thing here on R3. We just verified the last couple facts here. On our gig 0 area, on our area 0, we still have a broadcast. Okay, but on our gig 2, on area 3, we have a point to point link between R3 and R2. So, yeah. So that's pretty much that's then again, I'll put this all the code and stuff you guys see me run today together and stuff like that. I'll neaten it up too. But this is how you would too bad that I didn't get to do this last night, but this is worked out today. But this is how you would successfully manage devices within the topology. You know what I'm saying? Let it be just PCs, network devices, whatever. We just established Ospf in our topology pretty successfully. So we set up a multiple area Ospf topology within, and we didn't have to directly, we didn't directly go to each device and set this up. We did it all through Ansible and creating playbooks to set that up, and then we verified that too. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing to do it, and then there's another thing to verify that. And we have the facts. These are the facts. The facts verify our results. And we can verify that. We can go to what did I just do? We can go to our routers. Look at all the cool information that it's been just throwing. It's been going crazy over here. But if we do a show IP Ospf database, we can generate that same information, guys. All right, and we can look at our LSAs and where everything out. Now we didn't do any of this on our router. Okay, we did this. It all got set up via our Ansible manager. All right, cool stuff, guys. Cool stuff. And that's just kind of, that's just touching the tip of the iceberg here with the power that you can yield with Ansible and automation and stuff like that. Doing things in this type of a manner. We can make rapid changes, and then we can always go back and then verify. The strength is we can verify our changes. Our configurations. Hey, you know what? Look at this, guys. Where are we at? We'll just say the first Ospf one. That's when we kind of did. We can verify what we kind of did, and if we need to make changes, we can make direct changes right here. You know what I'm saying? We can make direct changes to what we need to do. Now, obviously, we're going to need to, if we need to erase information, we need to, back up, we need to back up some of, just erase some of the information before we can process new information to these routers. Just how these routers work sometimes. But yeah, that's it, guys. Cool stuff, man. So I hope this is a better demonstration, was a clearer demonstration of what I wanted to show last night. Hope you guys got something out of it. I'm going to continue to work on my. Obviously, I need to still need to continue on my Ansible skills and stuff like that. But just touching the iceberg of it. It's just working on the understanding of how to actually get up and running with the stuff. Once you just breach just that learning curve of how to get up and running with the stuff, you unlock a whole new world of how to do things. So that's it. So I appreciate you all joining me today. Thank you very much. I love every single one of you guys. Have you all a good day, and I'll be talking to you guys soon. Be good, everybody. Thank you again.